and it's about Shamima Begum.
Yeah.
And Shamima Begum, for our gentle listeners who may or may not know about her, was I think was she a Pakistani or
Bangladeshi?
Bangladeshi.
Well, she was born here.
She was born here. Sorry, British.
Bangladeshi.
Yeah.
Father.
Actually, yeah. Apologies. Sorry. She was a British citizen,
yeah.
born in England, British citizen, raised in London in a normal London school, and then at 15, I'm not quite sure whether she was taken or agreed to go.
Her and her two friends made their own way.
Made their own way
They flew to Istanbul.
Yeah.
Got a coach to the Syrian border, crossed the border, and then went and found ISIS and became ISIS brides.
ISIS brides, and she had a child. I think the child died.
Three children.
Three children all died, I think, which again is a horrific thing. I don't know what the conditions were. So I think, like all 15-year-old kids, girls, British girls, she probably spent a period of time there and thought, this is absolutely dreadful. I want to come back to England. And she's now a lot older than 15. I don't know how many.
23 now.
Yeah, so she's been basically fighting since that time when she came back a few years ago to get her, because her British citizenship was taken away because she was a member of ISIS, which is a terrorist organisation. She's been fighting to get her British citizenship back, and last week they confirmed she would not be getting it. So she's now stateless.
Stateless, but can apply to Bangladesh. So she's got Bangladeshi citizenship through her father.
Yeah.
Who still lives in Bangladesh, by the way.
So the question I'm asking you is, should she have lost her British citizenship, I guess, in your opinion, Nick? And if so, what's the argument? Because I've seen for example, Jacob Rees-Mogg believes she shouldn't have lost her citizenship because he believes, regardless of what she did or whatever, that British citizens have an inalienable right to that citizenship, especially if they don't, and they can never be stateless. There's some sort of legal...
It's an international law that you can't make someone stateless.
Yeah.
Hence why the government have only made, I'm aware, 2 people stripped of citizenship over ISIS.
Right.
One was a white middle-class guy from Herefordshire, whose dad was an organic farmer. They stripped him of his citizenship because he was a dual national and he had Canadian citizenship.
Right.
So he was stripped, never came back. He's now in Canada.
Yeah.
And she got stripped because she has a legal right because of her father's Bangladeshi. So and that's why it's been upheld in the court in this country, as in she's not stateless.
Yeah, but I believe at the moment she hasn't got Bangladesh. She can apply for it or she can get it.
I
believe she hasn't actually got it.
No, she has.
Technically, she is stateless. That's what they're arguing. Or
that's what they're that's what they're. But you can be stateless by renouncing your citizenship.
Yeah.
So you still could be, if you did that, you could do that. So what the British government is, she doesn't have to be stateless.
Yeah.
There's a state she's entitled to claim citizenship from, and she should do.
Yeah.
It's not our problem. She doesn't want to. So we're not leaving her stateless. We're leaving her. She can apply there. Yeah. So that's the British government. So, should she be?
Yes. So should she be is probably the better question.
Yeah.
Because the argument for me may be, I'm not saying this isn't my argument, but if I was putting an argument, I'd say she was a 15-year-old kid, highly gullible, obviously indoctrinated, went into a situation that was totally inappropriate. She got pregnant 3 times, realised that she'd been brainwashed or whatever, and came back and said, "Can I come back?" Basically. So
the ending's incorrect there.
Okay, fine.
So the ending wasn't she came back. The ending was the Syrian army beat ISIS. She was still with ISIS. She was captured as a prisoner of war, put in internment camps, where she stays up to today.
Right.
So she's still in Syria or on the border of Turkey.
Yeah.
She's in an internment camp for former ISIS fighters.
Yeah.
And she's stuck there. Now, should she have been stripped of her citizenship? So the argument for that will be she left this country, and by her act of leaving this country and joining our enemy, that by itself de facto was her relinquishing her British citizenship, her allegiance to this country. And she joins a country. It was called ISIS. ISIS had a huge sway of land at the time. It wasn't just a terrorist group. It controlled cities. It had its own taxation system. They were taxed in villages and places like that. It was its own country at that point, not recognised as a country, but by all intents and purposes, it was a country. She joined and had citizenship of that country, and by de facto relinquished her citizenship to the UK. Now that's all fallen apart. Should she come back? And if the argument is she isn't, well, why? Well, we need to send a clear message to other people who are thinking of leaving this country and joining terrorist organisations that are enemies of ours. There has to be consequences. She may have to, I mean, it's not just her, it's that white kid as well, who's now in Canada. We have to make examples of people, otherwise no lessons have learned by the rest of those communities. Is she a danger if she comes back here? Probably not, but you never know. How would you feel if she's not a danger, comes back here, and that 1 in a million chance she blows herself up and one of your daughters dies? Would you be going, well, it was worth taking that chance because it doesn't? Why would you take a chance of someone who hates this country, fought against it, was part of ICE? Why would a civilised country go, do you know what, we're going to give you another chance? I think our citizens, our law-abiding citizens who live here, their right to life comes a lot higher than her right to live here. That'd be the argument for keeping her out, both those arguments. Argument to allow her back. The main argument is she was born here, she's a British citizen, we shouldn't be dumping our terrorists for other countries to deal with. Valid point. Part of me thinks, well, tough, she's there. We don't want her.
I can see which side you're veering to, Nick, on this.
I just think for the greater good, for disenfranchised young Muslims in this country who think, I want to do something exciting with my life and I'm interested in joining a jihad and I might join the next group that comes along, and what's the worst that can happen? I might get killed. If I don't get killed, I get caught. I could come back home because Shamima Begum's home and she's now a bit of a celebrity. She goes around schools talking about not joining ISIS, and she's on TV all the time, and she's got a couple of books. And if all goes wrong, that's not a bad life. The message I want them to say to themselves is, well, I might die fighting, and if I don't die and I get caught,
I can't come back.
I'll never be able to come back here. I'll never see my mum again, my dad again. I'll never be able to come here. I'm going to live in some camp, a foreign jail, and if that stops some people from going, then the persecution of Shamima Begum would have been worthwhile.
So I think
we used to hang traitors.
Yes.
We should chop traitors' heads off. I would allow it to come back if we had capital punishment, which we'll talk about one day. So one day, that's fine. If we had capital punishment, I would allow her back.
We'll dedicate one episode to capital punishment and abortion. I think both of those subjects are not very controversial.
No.
I think we're with them. But so I think what you're actually saying is it's a political message here, because I think realistically my view is we're letting lots of immigrants into the country every day who probably have far worse traits, behaviours, criminal records than Shamima Begum, and they're not immediately thrown out. And I mean, the guy who chucked acid on that poor family, he was an immigrant. He had a criminal record. He was a nasty piece of work, and he was allowed to remain in the country. So I don't think, in terms of precedent, it's kind of, oh well, we do this with everybody. I think an example has been made of Shamima Begum, and probably for the reasons you've given as well. I also wonder, would the same thing have happened if she was a white girl as well? That's an interesting question.
Well, it happened to a white boy.
It happened to a white boy,
Yeah. So he went to ISIS. I say he was middle class. His dad was an organic farmer. His mum and dad got arrested and prosecuted for sending him money when he was in Syria, because that's against law. That's funding terrorism. They were arrested.
But wasn't he actually fighting as a soldier?
Yes.
I think he was. I don't think Shamima Begum actually took part, to my knowledge.
Only because ISIS are sexist and won't like female fighters or sexist pigs. But there's rumours and eyewitnesses that she was helping sew vests, explosive vests.
Oh yeah. I can't remember what they're called.
Yeah, explosive vests.
Suicide vests.
Suicide vests.
Yeah.
We've got eyewitnesses saying she was sewing them on soldiers.
Really?
And there's also eyewitnesses saying she was part of the female police. So walking around telling people what they can wear, what they can't wear, reporting them. So there's lots of eyewitness. I'm not saying anything's true, we don't know these eyewitness reports. It's not been to a court of law. So there's evidence that she wasn't a passive female. I mean, she was 15 years old. The age of criminality in the UK is 10. She was 15, was very bright at school. Her and her two friends made their own way all the way to Syria.
Yeah, that's hard to do.
That's very hard to do.
When you're 15.
Yeah. And so she got married to a Dutch ISIS fighter. He's in jail in Holland. And she had 3 children, all died. The message has to be sent. If you like that video, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell and comment. And if you like what I'm saying about running for Mayor of Greater Manchester, then stick around. Tell your family, tell your friends. The only way I'm going to have a chance of winning is a grassroots movement. So be part of that movement and hit that bell. Thanks.